Hi guys, happy Friday. We are going to talk about geography today. I start every social studies class with a lesson on geography, a lesson or two. Will probably wind up being more than one. But I start with geography because geography is so important to social studies. I can't adequately teach you about the wars and the empires and all these crazy trade routes and everything these people have done over the past hundreds of thousands of years if I don't show you where they are first. So we're going to get right into that. What is geography? Geography is the study of the physical features of the Earth and its atmosphere. It's the Earth, plain and simple. The word geography comes from two Greek words. The first word is geo, which means the Earth, and graphy, which means to write. And this came about because they were trying to figure out what to call somebody and like something who was drawing pictures of the Earth. They were literally writing the Earth, such as maps and stuff. So they were like, geography, geography. Not geology. Common misconception. Geology is the study of rocks, which is on Earth, but that's not what we're talking about. Geography is the study of the physical features of the Earth. There are five main themes of geography: location, place, region, human environment interaction, and movement. So, location, pretty simple. Where is a place located? Very simple. So there's two ways you could break this down. The first one is absolute location. Absolute location is the location that does not change. No matter where you are in the world, you could say that location is at X degrees north and X degrees west, and it'll always be in that location. It doesn't matter where you are. So that's latitude and longitude, which we'll get into in the next lesson. Relative location is the other one, and it is the position of something relative to another landmark. So you could say it's 50 miles west of Houston. You could say, but at the same token, it's 70 miles west of Vegas. I don't know any place that's accurate, but you get what I'm doing here. You could say it's 2 miles south of the McDonald's. You could say I am 5 miles away, or it is 5 miles away from me, and then as you get closer, it is 2 miles away from me. So just an example of how they change. Absolute is that's it. That's absolutely the location, and relative changes. It's relative to where you are or where another landmark is. Place, the physical and human characteristics of a place. So, what is the natural environment? Is it mountains? Is it a forest? Is it a desert? What bodies of water are around? What type of people live there? There are obviously a lot of cultures of people and a lot of communities of people who spend a lot of time in nature and they worship nature and they really take most of their life involving in nature, where there's other communities and places and regions of the world that have no connection to nature whatsoever. So that's a big part of place. It's not just the physical characteristics, but it's also the human characteristics. I hope that makes sense. Region. The United States is a great example of region because we are a huge country with so many different regions and so many different lifestyles in each region. So, included in region is climate, topography, culture, languages, religion, economy, social and political issues, etc. So, we obviously know we have a very different climate here in the Northeast than people do in the Southeast. In terms of culture, we know, I know personally, and I'm sure a lot of you do know, when you go down south to vacation, everything is slower. They drive slower, they get your food slower, just their way of life is slower. They're usually a lot more polite as well. Just a very different way of life. Religion varies from regions. Economy absolutely does. Social and political issues. It costs a lot more money to live in California and New York than it does to live in Texas and Florida. So all these different regions have very different aspects to them and different attributes and completely different ways of life. So you can't adequately talk about geography unless you're breaking down a region. And countries are not always a region. Some countries are very small and they can have the whole country living the same way, but that is certainly not the case in the United States. Human environment interactions. This one's kind of fun. The main ways to break this down is how have people depended on, adapted to, or modified the environment. So dependent on is pretty simple. We depend on the environment to give us water. Obviously, we need water, we need to drink water. So there's an example there. Adapted to. Now, adapted to and modified can be kind of confusing, but adapted to is how people have altered themselves and their ways of life to work with the land. Okay, so an example of that is like putting up these windmills right here. So they adapted to the land because they didn't change the land. Yeah, they put up windmills, but they didn't change the land at all. The land is windy. And they were like, you know what? Instead of moving, maybe we can't move or we simply don't want to move, we're just going to adapt to the wind. We'll put up these windmills, we'll create energy, we'll harness the wind, and we're adapting to it. So now our way of life is adapting to the environment. whereas modifying is altering the land to work for you. So this example right here, obviously these stone houses and stone walls that are perfectly even and perfectly aligned with the land are not made of nature. Those are clearly man-made. That's an example of people modifying the environment because they're changing the environment to work for them. Before that was there, they couldn't farm in that area, they couldn't travel in that area, they couldn't live in that area. But now that they've created steps instead of one just continuous downhill, they can create life there. So old photographs and maps can help see how environments were changed over time, and a perfect example is this picture right here. If we were able to find a picture of hundreds of thousands of years ago where none of this was creative, none of this was built, you would have seen no one was there. There was no life there. There was no way to sustain life there. It would have been a gigantic piece of land, a gigantic hill that no one could have lived on. But because humans modified that environment, they're now able to sustain a lifestyle there. Movement. So, how is a place linked to other communities? We'll talk about this a lot when we talk about trade, but obviously with trade, you don't only trade commodities. So commodities are goods, tangible things that you can hold in your hand. I could trade my water bottle for this little pouch that I put my hard drive in, and that's a physical trade. These are commodities. But other things that people trade are ideas, cultures, religion, languages, all these sort of things that kind of bridge the gaps of these different regions, these different communities, these different worlds, so to speak. So how are we linked to other communities? Well, for example, Long Island has a very high Italian population. I'm Italian, many of us are. But a lot of us can have parents that were born in Italy. I have friends whose parents were born in Italy, or people whose grandparents were born in Italy. No matter how many generations you're separated, at some point, your Italian ancestor came here, and they brought their cultures, they brought their cooking, they brought some of their language, they brought their traditions that have been passed down from year to year. So in a way, we could say that Long Island is connected to Italy. Make sense? Another example of that is what is manufactured in this place, what is imported and exported. What is a prime export? Like, let's think, avocados, very popular in Mexico. We get them up here. They're shipped up here constantly. I love avocados. So in that regard, the movement stands that the United States is connected to Mexico. So it's just showing how, whether it's through tangible things or things such as religion, culture, and language, that we are connected to other places and how we are bridging the gap of the whole world. Make sense? Okay, so this is going to be your activity. I'll put more examples of this online and just a better explanation. But you are going to pick a place, any place. It could be a state, it could be a town, it could be a city, it could be a country. And you are going to answer these following questions based on everything we just went over: location, place, movement, region, and human environment interaction. If you have any questions, please let me know. But we're going to do this. I'll post the directions online to show you how to post it. You don't have to print it out and bring it to school the next time you come in. Don't do that. I'll just show you how to share your answers on Google Meet. Make sure you do this so I can mark you in here for attendance. You want to be present. You don't want to be marked absent. And that's all I have for today. So please email me and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, guys.